Coming up on News Center Maine at 5.
The heart is broken every day, and that's the hard part to explain to people.
We mark 1 year since the Lewiston mass shooting. Just ahead, we'll hear from a man who lost his son at Schmenge's Bar and Grill and hear where he is in the healing process 1 year later.
Plus, we'll hear from a mental health professional about some ways to cope with what may be a flood of emotions coming back today. And we'll share some resources if you or someone you know is struggling.
And Raya Wooten will join us live from Lewiston to share how family members of the people killed in the shootings are honoring and remembering their loved ones tonight. Your News at 5 starts right now.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight at 5. I'm Brian Yacono.
And I'm Amanda Hill. Today marks a difficult day for Mainers across the state. It's been exactly 1 year since the shootings in Lewiston that took the lives of 18 people and injured many others at Just-in-Time Recreation and Schmenge's Bar and Grill.
First tonight, we will hear from one of the many Mainers who lost a loved one that night. Leroy Walker's son, Joe, was killed at Schmenge's Bar and Grill. Leroy became pretty vocal immediately after. He told us his goal was to get his son's name and story out there to as many people as possible. We first spoke with Leroy 1 year ago when he had not yet heard if Joe was okay, but said he had a gut feeling he wasn't.
And I don't know, telling you the truth, what kind of night this is going to be from now until tomorrow when I wake up to the true facts that my son is dead, and I know he's dead. I know it as well as I know I'm standing here telling you, because he's not here and he's not at any other hospital. And he's not running the streets, or he would have called us because he manages Schmenge's. So I know he was there.
Again, that was from 1 year ago tonight. News Center Maine's Lee Goldberg sat down with Leroy recently to check in with him.
We want to share with you some of that conversation.
So when people ask you, how you doing? How do you respond to something like that?
We won't see each other again until it's, I guess, my day to go to heaven.
That was Leroy Walker talking with our Lee Goldberg. Now, organizations in the Lewiston-Auburn area and across the state have been posting on social media today marking 1 year since the mass shooting. Police and fire departments, hospitals, schools, libraries, and many more are making sure that the victims, survivors, and relatives of those who died 1 year ago are not forgotten, and sharing messages of support for the Lewiston-Auburn community, first responders, medical staff, and others who were involved in the tragic events of that night. Thousands will gather tonight at the Lewiston Coliseum for a 1 year commemoration ceremony.
Chris Costa and Sam Olson joining us live tonight from outside that venue, where the evening is expected to be both emotional and uplifting. Sam and Chris.
Hi, Brian and Amanda. The parking lot here is starting to fill up at Schmenge's Bar and Grill. Brian, Amanda.
Sam Olson and Chris Costa live for us at the Coliseum, and a reminder, we will be carrying that commemoration tonight. Hitting this 1 year mark can stir up a lot of emotions.
If you are struggling, keep in mind you're not alone. Live in our new newscast today, I spoke with Dr. Mark Kaplan from Sweetser about how we can deal with feelings like that, anger, sadness, worry, both today and in the future. Dr. Kaplan suggests talk to your neighbors or your loved ones. He also stresses it's important to not isolate yourself. He also took a moment to recognize just how strong the community is and how far we've all come.
I think the vast majority of people in the community have taken advantage of every opportunity to heal, to get stronger, and to move beyond this. And so I have all the confidence in the city of Lewiston and the people about continuing to do that.
Dr. Kaplan also noted if you need help, don't be embarrassed or ashamed. There are a lot of resources available to you. You can find some of those right now on our website and mobile app. And if you find yourself in need of extra support, you can call the Maine Crisis Hotline. That number's on your screen, 1-888-568-1112. It's 1-888-568-1112.
Let's take a little breather now and get a first look at the forecast with Ryan Breton. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Amanda and Brian. Good afternoon to you. Hi, everybody. A nice sunny day across the state.
Agents with U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, arrested 538 people in a single day this week. That was confirmed by a spokesperson for the agency, with all of those arrests happening yesterday across the country. That number nearly doubles the agency's average of 282 arrests a day for the entire month of September 2024, the most recent month data is available for. ICE agents were seen entering homes in Boston yesterday. Other arrests took place in Illinois, Utah, California, New York, Minnesota, Maryland, and Florida. Of those 538, 373 arrests reportedly for criminal allegations. 165 were for non-criminal reasons. This comes after President Trump signed an executive order earlier this week that he said would crack down on immigration. Now, officials with the Department of Homeland Security also say they are suspending a policy which restricts agents' ability to arrest undocumented people in what the agency calls sensitive locations, hospitals, schools, and churches. That policy dates back to the Obama administration. It was expanded under former President Biden to include shelters for domestic violence victims and people seeking disaster relief. The rollback of this immigration policy has sparked some concern across the country, including here in Maine. News Center Maine's Alex Haskell takes a look at how some local organizations now are reacting to the change.
Under the new guidelines, immigration officers, so far, they've all been false. In Portland, Alex Haskell, News Center Maine.
Turning now to the U.S. southern border, where dozens of migrants were sent back to Mexico from the U.S. Take a look at the scene at the border near El Paso, Texas, as the group of migrants were crossing back over the border. They were greeted there by people disguising themselves as angels and holding signs demanding protections for undocumented people. Some of the signs had messages written in Spanish, including, quote, "Migrants in danger. Organized crime lurks and perpetrates violence in Mexico." In addition to the ramping up of immigrant enforcement, the CBP One app, which allowed migrants to schedule asylum appointments, was shut down on Monday. Anyone waiting for an appointment made through the app saw those appointments canceled when it went dark. It's estimated that thousands of migrants lost those appointments. A lawyer representing the ACLU in a case regarding the app's shutdown says right now there is essentially no way for anyone to seek asylum at the southern border. Meantime, as part of the increased immigration enforcement, active duty U.S. military troops are being deployed now at the southern border. NBC's Priscilla Thompson has details on those deployments and has more from El Paso, Texas.
Well, I'll just give you a view from the ground. Priscilla Thompson in El Paso, Texas.
In the opening hours of his second term, President Donald Trump issued an executive order to deny citizenship to American-born children of undocumented immigrants. That move drew almost an immediate legal challenge as 22 states filed 2 lawsuits on Tuesday against those actions, saying it was directly in violation of the 14th Amendment. Then just yesterday, a federal judge in Seattle blocked the order, temporarily halting it altogether. While some Republicans have praised President Trump's executive action, Maine Senator Susan Collins raised questions about its legality.
The fact is, the Constitution says that if you're born in America, you are an American citizen. It's always difficult to predict exactly what the courts will do, but the Constitution seems pretty clear to me.
President Trump did tell reporters he plans to appeal that federal judge's decision to block his executive order on birthright citizenship. It has been just under 1 month since President Donald Trump took office, and it's become clear that one of his administration's early priorities is significantly shrinking the federal workforce. In recent weeks, several government agencies have been impacted by this initiative. So far, we've seen more than 1,000 employees at the Department of Veterans Affairs dismissed, 3,400 from the U.S. Forest Service, and just this past weekend, 300 workers with the Federal Aviation Administration lost their jobs. Just over 400 people were reportedly cut at Homeland Security, including more than 200 at the Federal Emergency Management Agency and at least 130 with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. In addition to those layoffs, an unspecified number of workers at the National Nuclear Security Administration, which is part of the Department of Energy, were let go late last week. The NNSA is responsible for overseeing the nation's nuclear stockpile. However, officials with the Trump administration reportedly tried to contact those employees to inform them their firing was being rescinded, but now no longer have a way to contact them. These mass layoffs don't just affect workers in Washington, D.C. They reach government workers all around the country, including here in Maine. News Center Maine's Caroline LaCour sits down with one former federal employee of the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. That's an agency within the Department of Health and Human Services.
There's this sort of stereotype that's out there about federal workers. And
in gray, Caroline LaCour, News Center Maine.
Senator Susan Collins, a Republican, also expressing concern regarding the impacts of the layoffs and issued the following statement saying, quote, "The sweeping and indiscriminate firing of probationary employees at HHS could lead to confusion and difficulties for patients and providers who rely on the essential programs of the department."
Coming up in your Evening Rush, the latest from California and the wildfires happening there.
Investigations into causes, another fire breaking out overnight, and major spikes in real estate prices around LA. All that when we come back.
Time now for your Evening Rush, and in tonight's Rush we are focusing on the wildfires in California.
Investigators with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives are working with arson investigators to try to determine how the Palisades fire started. They were in an area called Skull Rock late into the night yesterday, which is believed to be the origin point of the fire that began nearly a week ago now. Federal and local investigators are also working together to look over evidence collected from that area. They have not ruled anything out yet. While they are still in the early stages, the U.S. District Attorney says all of the fires are being investigated for possible arson.
Meantime, crews responded to another fire that broke out in Ventura County overnight, one that's now being called the Auto Fire. Ventura County is just northwest of Los Angeles. Local officials say that fire has burned at least 56 acres so far, and the 100 firefighters working to contain the flames have made significant progress slowing its spread. They added that none of the homes or buildings in the area are currently threatened by that fire, but evacuation orders were issued for people near the auto fire.
Some people forced out of their homes by the wildfires say they are running into massive price hikes for housing now in the Los Angeles area. A local real estate broker also says he has seen sharp increases in home prices. In recent days, some listings found for rental properties in the area show a price jump between 20 and 30%. Now, under California law, an emergency declaration includes a ban on price increases of more than 10% compared to pre-disaster listings. That means anything higher than that is illegal. A tenants union organizer in Los Angeles has been tracking the price hikes and reporting those listings to state and local governments, and she says so far they've received more than 450 submissions for listings like those. And that's your Evening Rush today.
Still to come tonight, confirmation hearings for the president-elect's cabinet picks get underway.
With the man tapped to lead the Department of Defense sharply questioned by Democrats on Capitol Hill. A look inside today's hearing when we return.
And temperatures today were actually a little warmer than average, but that changes tomorrow. Colder air moves in and it comes with a gusty wind. We'll talk about how long the wind sticks around coming up in the forecast.
Now, thanks for joining us today. I'm Brian Yacono.
And I'm Amanda Hill. We do want to begin tonight with some breaking news out of South Portland. The Maine Mall is closed and police are asking people to avoid that area right now. We know that South Portland police are searching for a person they believe is inside and suspected of shooting another person this afternoon. Our Donovan Lynch is at the Maine Mall right now. He joins us with the latest. Donovan.
Yeah, hey, we're at the outside the food court here at the Maine Mall, and authorities say please avoid this area right now as this search continues. Amanda?
All right, Donovan Lynch live for us in South Portland at the Maine Mall. Thank you, Donovan. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Brian Yacono. We will get to all those stories soon. First, though, tonight, this storm that's been going for most of the day now, leaving pretty significant fresh coating of snow across most of the state.
We have teams out around Maine right now. Christian Harsa is in downtown Bangor. And meteorologist Dana Osgood is getting a look at conditions in southern Maine, and that's where we will begin. Dana, how are things looking now?
So Brian and Amanda, right now we are on Route 1 going north. We passed Freeport just a couple of minutes ago, and overall the snow has lightened a significant amount. Overall, I would say it's kind of flurrying at us, but the visibility still is not great. And as you can see, the road conditions throughout this entire day, it's likely snowing a bit harder in Bangor. Christian, how does it look out there?
Yeah, Dana, so it's actually not coming down as bad as it was earlier, but we've been having snow since about 12:30, and so we've had 4 hours of snow coming down, and it's updating you every half hour, letting you know how much of this we have going. So I'm going to pass it off to Ryan.
Thanks so much, Christian. And you made a good point. It's a light, fluffy snow. And the reason for that is it's so cold. It's only 18 degrees right now in Portland. You can tell on the webcam the visibility much better.
Coming up on News Center Maine at 5.
It is keep on the times. I mean, police work, it's like any other profession. We're growing with technology.
As the use of police body cameras continues to grow, we'll hear from some deputies at the latest Maine law enforcement agency to start using the technology and the ways it can help both officers and citizens. Plus, as President Biden enters his final weeks in office, he shares his outlook on the state of the U.S. economy and what he sees as the accomplishments of his administration over the last 4 years. And
I just rely on the hearts of the community, and they haven't failed me yet.
We'll show you how a woman in one town in York County is making sure older Mainers in her community are not forgotten during the holiday season. Your News at 5 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill. Brian Yacono is off tonight. In 2020, around 79% of local police officers across the country were utilizing body-worn cameras. That's according to a report from the U.S. Department of Justice. That is a significant jump from just a few years earlier when about 47% of law enforcement agencies were using the cameras. Earlier this year, a report from the Catherine Cutler Institute at the University of Southern Maine showed that 70% of Maine law enforcement agencies who responded said they were already using the cameras, while 21% said they were considering adding them. York County Sheriff's Office is the latest agency in the state to make that move. News Center Maine's Leanne Stapleton talked with deputies there about their decision to adopt the tool.
Deputies with the York County Sheriff's Office recently received in Alfred. Leanne Stapleton, News Center Maine.
Town leaders in Rumford are warning residents to avoid brown or tan-colored snow that is in some areas around the mill. In a social media post, leaders said that a malfunction at the mill, a release of black liquid, caused discolored snow, mostly in the areas around the mill. These pictures are from a viewer, Michelle, of that brown snow. The posts say that Falmouth, Cumberland, and Waldo streets are all affected, adding that people should avoid touching the snow because it may irritate your skin, though town officials say it is not toxic and the Maine DEP has been called in to get a sample. They also advise keeping your kids and your pets away from it. They say they are hoping the incoming rain will wash away the substance.